following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. Nascar, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Hey, welcome into another weekend. Made it to February.
Yep.
We're oh so close. And I mean that specifically as in we're 8 days away from the official kickoff of NASCAR.
Yep.
Really, if you want to look at it, it's less than that because Friday night, the Truck Series gets underway.
It's even more less than that because of
If you want to talk about the duels.
the duels are Thursday, and then they qualify Wednesday night.
So really, first major competition will be, I guess, when's qualifying for
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Yeah.
So front row's Wednesday, duels on Thursday. It's getting better, folks.
Yep.
It's getting better.
Life is improving.
I'm Steve West. That's Matt Nicholson. We got producer John Myers over there running things capably. Hope things are going well for you. Plenty of ways, obviously, that you can catch us on our new home, 95.1 The Mountain in East Central Alabama. If you are outside of that area and still want to catch us, there's a couple of different ways you can do that as well. The most simple way, get on your phone, download the 95.1 Mountain app, and you can stream us there.
Yep.
Or if you'd like to throw a little video into it, you go onto YouTube, search Championship Racing Network. You can subscribe to the page there, and you can watch the show as it happens. And that is a John Myers thing.
Well, you get to see Steve's smiling face as well.
Sometimes.
Okay, scowling face?
Hey, what's not to smile about? We get to talk racing.
Go.
And we're going to kick off, actually, by doing a little bit of a recap from last weekend. Couple of things happened last weekend. The first thing in chronological order was the 2022 Race of Champions. It's the international competition, not to be confused with the old International Race of Champions. They held that in a place that's actually probably more appropriate for the Winter Olympics than Beijing, China. It's a place called Pattaya, Sweden. This is a little town located about 60 miles north of the Arctic Circle. How in the world did they end up here?
That's a really good question.
Somebody was just like throwing darts at the map, and suddenly it landed on Pattaya, Sweden. Oh, that's a good place. We're running it in February. It's a good place. Okay. Anyway, I imagine it was quite cold up there. We begin with the Nations Cup. This is where two drivers for one team race against both drivers from another team in kind of a round-robin sort of thing. Team USA was once again, as we've mentioned here on the show before, made up of 2021 IndyCar drivers Jimmie Johnson and Colton Herta. They had to go through the preliminary rounds, which they did with success, beating Team Latin America first, where they faced off then against Team Germany. Formula One drivers Sebastian Vettel and Mick Schumacher. Both sides won two matches. The tiebreaker, though, is the quicker overall accumulated time. The American pair actually won it. You believe that?
Yep.
Moved on to take on Team Finland in the semifinals, beating the duo of former F1 driver Mika Hakkinen and the young lady Emma Kymäläinen 3-1 there. Meanwhile, in the other semifinals, Team Norway and Team Nordic, which was a combined Swedish-Danish team, they paired off, tying 2-2. Norway advanced on time. And unfortunately, that's where the hopes of bringing the First Nations Cup back to the United States since 2002 ended. Team Norway's pairing of Peter and Oliver Solberg, a father-son team, bested Johnson and Herta 3-1. The U.S. runners-up, but one of their best runs ever in the Nations Cup. So congratulations to them. In the driver versus driver competition, drivers with off-road racing experience or prior Race of Champions wins were given a bye. Colton Herta, Ilio Castroneves got to pair off. Mick Schumacher was taking on two-time W Series title winner Jamie Chadwick in preliminary action. Herta beat Castroneves. Chadwick upset Schumacher. Get that. Herta moves on, beats Chadwick. Jimmie Johnson in another pairing bested Mika Hakkinen. Sounds familiar. However, in the quarterfinals of the final draw, both Herta and Johnson were eliminated. Herta by Sebastian Vettel, Johnson by Tom Christensen. I want to say he's Danish. Anyway, Vettel made it to the finals in the driver versus driver bracket to take on Sebastian Loeb of France. Loeb, actually, in the best of 5 scenario, gets 3 wins first, claims the 2022 Drivers' Race of Champions title. Congratulations to all the drivers there. From what I understand, they all reported having a great, if very cold, time.
Oh, I would imagine so. It was pretty cold.
Back here in the United States, NASCAR was out on the West Coast to take over the LA Coliseum. It was much warmer there. Remade as a quarter-mile short track for the Busch Light Clash. Some surprises didn't make it to the finals. They were eliminated through the heat race format. Drivers that didn't make it to the finals, the 23-car field. Drivers they eliminated included Brad Keselowski, Alex Bowman, Kurt Busch, and Eric Almirola, among others. We told you, we said this on the show last week, there were going to be surprises like that.
Yep.
And sure enough, we hit it.
Yep.
The 150-lap race was split into 2 equal halves. At the end of the first half, Kyle Busch was just ahead of Joey Logano. Foreshadowing. Justin Haley was third, William Byron fourth, and 2021 champion Kyle Larson rounded out the top 5. But it was kind of an attrition thing that caused Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, and Tyler Reddick to end up having to drop out a bit early in that particular event. Chase Briscoe lost a drive shaft, I think is what they said.
Tyler Reddick did too as well.
Something that they're going to have to
Tyler Reddick actually
run down.
Yeah, Tyler Reddick actually broke a prop shaft by their new definition of it.
That can't be easy.
No.
Anyway, second half of the event got underway, again splitting into halves, so 75 laps for the first run, 75 laps for the second run. Yellow flag laps did not count. Understand that. Logano continued his pursuit of Kyle Busch. He finally pulled off a little bit of a bump and run on lap 116 that gave him the lead, just as Chase Elliott had given Justin Haley some race-ending payback for an earlier bit of contact. Questionable. Win the yellow, under which, again, laps didn't count. Logano took off. Despite the best efforts of Busch, he fell short. He had to settle for second when it was all said and done. Austin Dillon, nice job, better job than what I would have expected him to do. Worked his way up to third at the end, trailed by Eric Jones, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Cole Custer, Christopher Bell, A.J. Allmendinger in ninth, and Kevin Harvick in 10th. When it was all said and done, 18 of the 23 cars were still running. We talked about Hamlin, Briscoe, and Reddick being out by the end of the first half. The 2 cars that did not make it after that, Ryan Preece, we mentioned Justin Haley, they were spectators in those final laps. And that brings us to this weekend. Racing for this weekend involves one series that we cover. It's Formula E. They're going to run in Mexico City on a shortened version of the F1 course, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. This version is a 16-turn, 1.61 mile long course right in the heart of downtown. CBS Sports Network has the coverage starting 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central Time. That's right. They're in the Western Hemisphere. We actually get it at a normal time here. No other series that we cover are taking on the Super Bowl. That said, as we mentioned, we got racing later on this week as well. We'll head down to Daytona. Yeah, we do have the qualification round where we're going to set only the front row on Wednesday. Then the Cup Series will set the rest of the field on Thursday through the Blue-Green Vacation Duels. Thursday evening, Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio have the action starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central. And then the Camping World Truck Series will get their 2022 season rolling with the NextEra Energy 250 at Daytona Friday night, also on Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central start time. So it's here. We've made it. For those of you that have been waiting oh so long and probably somewhat impatiently,
Yeah.
here's your time. Racing is just quite literally days away.
Yep. Not very far at all. Not at all.
We've been doing something over the past couple of weeks, and I'm going to go ahead and say this right up front for those of you that are listening either on the FM side or on the app. And quite frankly, for those of you that are on YouTube. We are, whenever we get the opportunity and we have a little bit of extra time and all three of us can do it, we're going to do what we call an after the show show. That's where we're going to do our predictions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether I'm going to predict the truck race, though. Probably going to wait until next weekend, and we'll start to see if we can't figure out who might be a surprise when it comes to doing Daytona. Because, truth be told, last year, none of the three of us would have predicted Michael McDowell in victory lane.
No. I wasn't even close to calling Michael McDowell in victory lane.
No.
Not at all.
And anybody who says that they would have called Michael McDowell, stop it, John, is lying through their teeth.
Uh-huh.
Well, no. I was going to say Daytona is like Talladega in the fact that anyone that goes in can win the race. They have that opportunity.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no doubt about it. But still, I would not have predicted Michael McDowell. No.
I would have given him a shot at the top 10 because he's a consistently good little super speedway racer.
Sure, and Front Row Motorsports does have a very good super speedway program. But again, predicting the win? No.
No.
Wasn't going to be me, and I'll be honest with you, I ain't going to do it next week either.
Nope.
How's that for foreshadowing?
Not at all.
Sorry, Michael. I'm not predicting you're going to go back-to-back. But then again, going back-to-back at the Daytona 500 is really, really hard anyway. So.
Extremely.
Who was the last driver to do it? Marlin?
Denny Hamlin.
Oh, that's right, too. It's easy to forget about Denny Hamlin. Sorry, Denny. I just admitted to that right on the air, didn't I?
Forgettable.
I just admitted to that right on the air, didn't I?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Hey, it's early.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, plenty to get to. Like we said, NASCAR getting ready to roll. Formula E a little bit later on today. Not too long from IndyCar and Formula One getting their seasons underway. That's going to happen next month. So, hey, we're in it, man. 2022 has made it officially, and the racing is on. And that's a good thing.
It has arrived.
Let's go ahead and take our first break here. We'll take it a little bit early. When we come back, especially for those of you that are on our YouTube channel, we got some visuals for you because a lot of paint schemes revealed in NASCAR, IndyCar, which was a little bit unusual. They don't usually do like big car reveals, but they did in one case. We've got that for you. We got a couple of Formula One looks as well. All that and plenty more to get to. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday morning. We appreciate it here at the Championship Racing Network. And when we come back, we'll get deep dive into some Cup Series news right here on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. And back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into the show. Hope everything is going well with you this morning, and we appreciate you joining us. I'm Steve West with Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers here, putting on a little radio show about racing. If you're fairly new to the Championship Racing Network, we cover many different major series. All three top levels of NASCAR. We cover the NHRA. We cover the Superstar Racing Experience, or SRX. We also cover Indycar, Formula One, Formula E. And every once in a while, we dabble into some other stuff. We just have fun.
A time or two.
Yep. Let's start off with the Cup Series this week because we want to congratulate not only Joey Logano for winning the first ever Busch Light Clash at the Coliseum. He and his wife, Brittany, welcomed their third child, which just happened to be a couple of days after he won the race. Timing is everything. Mm-hmm. Their third child is a daughter they have named Amelia Love. She was born Tuesday, and she joins the family that already has two sons, Hudson and Jameson, ahead of her. Back to the LA Coliseum here because this becomes the controversial part of it, if you will. NASCAR themselves deemed the first running of the race in a football stadium a success. Here's why. NASCAR President Steve O'Donnell noted what we noted last week, that about 70% or so of the people in attendance stated they had never been to a NASCAR race before. He also noted during the main race, NASCAR was the top trend on Twitter in the United States of America. Doesn't happen very often, but it happens every once in a while. Mm-hmm. TV ratings, according to Nielsen Media Research, 2.32 rating with some 4.283 million people watching. Compared to last year's 2021 Clash at Daytona, it was up 168% in ratings, or most specifically, viewers. It was also the highest ratings for the Busch Clash since 2016, back when we called it the Sprint Unlimited. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Didn't we have a weather thing that caused the 2021 Clash to be delayed?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
That had something to do with it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of this depends on which side of, hey, let's make a quarter-mile track on top of a football field. It depends on which side of this you fall on. If you think it was great, it was a brainchild. If you think it was horrible, you're like, what the heck, and who came up with this thing? I could have said something more, but this is a family show. But if you choose to use the word brainchild for building the flat track inside the stadium, it happens to be Ben Kennedy, who is now NASCAR's Senior VP of Strategic Innovation. We noted on the show last week that NASCAR has 90 days from last Monday to inform LA Coliseum officials about whether or not they're going to come back next year and do it again or not. Steve O'Donnell himself did not say whether or not they had plans to do it, but he said he's open to taking the Clash around to different places, even outside of the U.S. as well. He said this, quote, "I'm not advocating that we're taking the Clash overseas, but it does open up the opportunity for us if we wanted to showcase NASCAR. We've always talked about, Ben and I, you have to go to a road course. They have to build a track somewhere if you're in Europe. Not anymore. We've proven you can go out to a cool stadium with a track around it. We know what to do. We can go in and out. Some opportunities there. Ben, if he hasn't already, is already studying the footprint of a lot of different stadiums in the United States. What works, what may not work. But we're also pretty happy here, speaking of Los Angeles. So that brings up the question of what, if anything, this could mean for the other Los Angeles area track, because that is Auto Club Speedway. And if you missed it, or if you had forgotten about it because all of this came out almost now, 3 years ago?
Yes.
They have plans to turn this from the current D-shaped 2-mile oval that it is into a half-mile track that is kind of a combination of the three other most notable Cup Series short tracks, Richmond, Bristol, and Martinsville. It will continue to have a D shape like Richmond. They'll have high bank turns kind of like Bristol, but they'll be tight turns, and it'll be a relatively flat layout like Martinsville, except in the turns. It was a plan that was unveiled early in 2020, and then COVID happened. Stupid COVID.
Yeah.
Last November, NASCAR President Steve Phelps said that he was hopeful that the process of transforming the track would be complete by 2023, adding, quote, us adding another half-mile track in a very important marketplace for us. I'll call it the LA metropolitan area. It's important. We have more fans in LA, in that LA metropolitan area, than any other metropolitan area in the country. It's fertile ground. we don't disagree, but we do wonder whether or not you're trying too hard. After all, wouldn't it just be cool to put the Clash on the Auto Club Speedway?
Considering, how I am about running races on permanent dedicated surfaces, yeah, it would make perfect sense. But we know how some people don't like to use common sense on things.
Reed, Bristol, dirt track.
Thank you. That's
Bill
one.
Kennedy.
But, yeah, that's two.
I mean, congratulations for thinking outside the box, to use an old cliche, but at the same point in time, you spent a whole lot of money. We talked about this last week. You spent a whole lot of money, $1 million, to set this up, and that $1 million did not include laying down the track, and it didn't include the lease of the track.
And then it doesn't include the what they're going to incur for replacing the turf at
So
LA Coliseum as
now
well.
you got to rip all that stuff up that you spent. I'm going to guess another $1 million on the lease of the track and converting the football field into a track. So you spent $2 million to go out there and put on a race, and now you just got to turn around and tear it all back up.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even get to keep it.
Yeah.
And you think about it, later on this year, yeah, they're going to go back to dirt, which I think is a great idea. But they're going to do it by going to Bristol. But Bristol has to pour, I don't even know how many tons of dirt onto the racing surface before you can go do that.
I think it's 250,000 yards.
Well, there you go.
I think.
And then once that's done, they got to go back in. They got to take up all that dirt again, wash down the track. Because, yeah, you'll get rains and everything, but you want to make sure that it's cleaned off, because when you come back in August, it's back to concrete.
Mm-hmm.
And this is on an SMI track, Bristol. And we've been there. We've seen it. They've got a great dirt facility in Charlotte. They got a great dirt facility that Matt has seen in Texas. They got a great dirt facility that I've driven by, and I think you have too, in Las Vegas. Dedicated, fantastic dirt facilities.
They've got another dirt facility that I've been on the grounds of as well that's was pretty significant, that has held a NASCAR race recently. It's that little track in New Weston, Ohio, that we know as Eldora Speedway.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one as well, if you ask me.
They could go to Knoxville. They've been there with the Truck Series. I mean, there's a whole lot of dirt facilities, quite frankly, that they could go to that they wouldn't have to spend all that money, all that time, and all that effort to go and pour dirt on a perfectly good concrete surface.
Yep.
We're in a situation now where money is a factor, okay? NASCAR has said this. Money is a factor. But yet they're going to spend a whole lot of money doing this LA Coliseum thing and a whole lot of money doing the Bristol dirt thing. And they're going to complain about money?
Yeah, no.
Watch it, boys and girls. Watch it.
There's what we when they was talking about exploring going overseas, there was one place that I missed.
Yeah, because we talked about Suzuka in Japan. We mentioned the possibility of Australia, and we talked about what might happen if they were to go to Europe. We figured probably no Busch Clash in Canada, because Busch Clash is in February, and it's Canada.
Uh-huh.
So maybe Mexico City.
Maybe.
What did we miss?
The one that I missed, since we're on the kick of building stadiums and building tracks inside of football stadiums. One that I forgot.
Okay.
Wembley Stadium.
Somewhere in downtown London.
Wembley Stadium.
Yeah. Wembley would be the most famous one, but there are, in case you didn't know, soccer is much bigger over there than it is over here. They call it football.
Football.
If we're going overseas, let's just go to Donington Park.
They've got 6 massive soccer stadiums in the London metropolitan area.
Uh-huh.
Ouch. Anyway, back to Auto Club Speedway, where track president David Allen said he didn't know exactly when work on converting it into a shorter track might begin. He was saying about it, after being asked about it, he said about this, quote, possibly we don't know when it's going to begin. We'll continue to treat it as it is. In other words, the plan is maybe to get it done by 2023, which if they're going to get that done by 2023, you almost have to, right after they visit here in a couple of weeks and do their race there, start digging it up.
Immediately.
Almost immediately. Because this is a massive change. This isn't like Atlanta. Atlanta was a situation where, yeah, they dug up the old track, they made some better drainage, and they reconfigured it a little bit. This, it's still got the same basic 1.5 mile cookie cutter layout, right? We're talking about a massive change from a 2 mile track down to a 1/2 mile track. This is going to be a lot more involved than what they did over in Atlanta.
That is substantial.
NASCAR said that they do want more short track racing. That prompted the change at Auto Club Speedway. Thing about it is, the drivers have said how much they like the aging surface at Auto Club and how much it challenges them. Most drivers admit they're looking forward to racing there this year. Maybe, with what I'm about to talk about, they might be able to convince them to hold off for another year or two.
Or ever.
I don't know about ever. That's the question. I don't know about ever.
It's tough to say because I've seen some quotes from Dave Allen as well from multiple sites that said, now we're unsure if it's even going to happen.
Okay. Time will tell.
Unsure being the big elephant word in the room there.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's a massive investment. They've spent a lot of money to do things at the LA Coliseum, and they're about to spend a whole lot more money because NASCAR is not going to make SMI eat that whole thing when it comes to dumping a whole lot of dirt on Bristol. Do they really have the money to really make it work on a track that they own, talking about Auto Club Speedway, and they may not have that working capital just yet. As far as the drivers are concerned, and one would hope that they do have some say in this, they believe that they can make it work in the form of, once again, a driver's advisory council. This time they're promising it's a much more unified effort than the last one that they tried back in 2014. This one also, as it was in 2014, the brainchild of one Denny Hamlin. It's being overseen, though, by a retired driver, current NBC NASCAR analyst Jeff Burton. This is a 7-member board from the top and the bottom of the Cup Series hierarchy, each member acting as a representative for another group of drivers. The board is made up of Denny Hamlin, along with Kurt Busch, Joey Logano, Austin Dillon, Corey LaJoie, Daniel Suarez, and the last person there is another retired driver. It's Kyle Petty, who happens to work with Jeff Burton at NBC Sports as a NASCAR analyst. Now, the prior driver council was kind of met with some apathy from NASCAR. They really didn't care much about it. But this time around, the NASCAR higher-ups are saying that they promise they will work with this version of the council.
We'll see. That's what we said last time. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Last time we saw it, and the driver council fell apart.
In a hurry.
At least their NASCAR, in this case, is recognizing it more this time and paying it a little bit more mind than they did last time.
Mm-hmm.
For better or worse.
Mm-hmm.
We shall see.
Yeah.
NASCAR has confirmed that due to an overall lack of available parts for the Gen 7 racer so far, the tradition of keeping the Daytona 500 winning car on display at the Motorsports Hall of Fame on the grounds of Daytona will be rescinded for this year. They did say that the winning car will be kept overnight, and there will be a team-winning celebratory breakfast the morning after the race for the winning team, but then the team will get to load the car up on their hauler and take it back to their home shop. That being said, you will be able to get a look at something of what the winning car was, because NASCAR is going to take one of the test mules, which is not obviously being raced, and overnight, while everyone is reportedly either sleeping or partying the win off, they're going to do intensive scans of the winning car as it sits on the podium at the Speedway Museum, and they're going to wrap one of the test mules to mirror the Daytona 500 winning car.
Kids, you know that little emoji you have on your keyboard? That when you scroll through, it's the little guy or girl that's doing
Yes.
this?
Yeah.
For the ones that's not watching YouTube, that's me doing that right now.
Yes. Smacking his forehead.
Face palm.
Facepalm.
Facepalm.
So we're gonna have the let's say hypothetically that I don't know, Tyler Reddick wins it.
Okay.
So let's back up here because the test mule car actually looks closer to a Chevrolet than anything, in my personal opinion.
I would agree with that.
So we're going to have the number 12. Let's say Ryan Blaney pulls it off.
Okay.
We're going to have the number 12 Menards Duracell for Chevrolet.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Chevrolet Yoda.
Easier for you to say.
We're gonna have a hybrid, the
have a
hybrid
hybrid.
version.
Yeah.
So or are we gonna put a nose piece on it to resemble a Ford? Are we gonna put a nose piece on it to resemble a Toyota, Chevrolet?
I have
What are we gonna do?
No idea. All
So
I
we're
know is they're
basically-
going to put a wrap on it.
We're gonna have a wrapped SRX car.
In some ways, yeah. That's pretty much exactly what you're going to get.
Give me a break.
Oh, man. As for the Daytona 500 and the 2022 Cup Series season overall, there are 3 drivers that are up for the Sunoco Rookie of the Year honors. Those drivers are Team Penske's Austin Cindric, Wood Brothers Racing driver Harrison Burton, and Todd Gilliland, who jumps up to the Cup Series from the Truck Series with Front Row Motorsports. No disrespect to Harrison or Todd, but ladies and gentlemen, your 2022 Sunoco Cup Series Rookie of the Year, Team Penske's Austin Dillon.
You mean Austin Cindric?
Yeah, sorry. Him too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Harrison Burton's got talent. I'm not 100% sure that that's going to gel over there at Wood Brothers Racing just yet. And Todd Gilliland is massively inexperienced. No disrespect to him. And he's going up to Front Row Motorsports, which, yeah, they had a decent year last year with Michael McDowell, but does anybody remember the other car? The 38?
Anthony Alfredo that did nothing. At least Todd Gilliland has strung together 2 consecutive seasons in trucks with full starts. Not Anthony Alfredo that goes from K&N to trucks, back to ARCA, back to trucks, handful of Xfinity races. Oh, I'm going to take a full Cup Series ride.
Yeah.
Come on.
But Todd Gilliland's still green. Very green.
He's got a lot of learning to do, yeah, for sure.
And he's behind a little bit of an 8 ball with Front Row Motorsports. Again, there's Wood Brothers Racing. I get it. They get all this stuff from Team Penske, but between Harrison Burton and Austin Cindric, I'm going to go Austin Cindric every time.
I'm going to have to unfortunately go with you on that, even though I'm not a Penske fan, but, you know, it's the obvious is obvious.
Here's your choices. I mean, that's it. What do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Speaking of Front Row Motorsports, they have re-upped 2 of their 2021 sponsors. If you're watching on our YouTube, you'll be able to see some pictures of these cars. First up is Freight Auctions. They're going to be the primary sponsor for the aforementioned Michael McDowell at Atlanta and 6 other races throughout the season. The reason why Atlanta? Freight Auctions is based in Atlanta. They're also going to be primary on the Camping World Truck Series entry of Zane Smith. For the rest of 2022, Freight Auctions will continue as an associate sponsor for Michael McDowell and Zane Smith. Front Row Motorsports also announced that Horizon Hobby is coming on board McDowell and Smith's racers for 2022. They're going to get the 34 in the Cup Series for Indy, the road course race in August, and the Daytona race in August. And they're going to join Zane Smith's Truck Series efforts at Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway. You can see this picture as well on our YouTube feed if John can find it. Horizon Hobby and their sub-brand, ARRMA, these guys are leaders in remote control products, parts, and accessory sales around the world. I want to say it's the car is actually a pretty sharp-looking runner.
I think so.
Yeah. And to think that, you know, I remember remote control cars when I was a kid, and I played with them a lot. And I know that obviously there are people that are into this not just as a hobby, but I mean they're going into massive competitions and spending some pretty good money on setting up race prepped remote control cars. I get that.
And I mean, even with RC in the RC world, with people spend a ton of money for like RC aviation stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, when you build, what's the scale of it? I can't remember the exact scale of it, but people that will build RC planes that F-22s, F-35s, 747s,
Sure.
A380s, private
big-time jet
jets.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
Stuff
like
like
just
that.
going over and recreating old P-51 Mustangs. I mean, they're going out and they're getting into some serious detail and serious money. And that just shows, to me, them coming on board and sponsoring a couple of NASCAR races, two
sure.
at the cup level and one at the truck level. That shows how far along they've really come in the RC racing world, in the RC competition world. So
Yeah.
congratulations to them. Looking forward to seeing it. Now, as far as, and again, we'll kind of throughout the course of the show here on our YouTube page, again, go onto YouTube, look up Championship Racing Network. You can subscribe there. You can watch. You'll get notifications anytime that we go live on the air or have a new video up. But throughout the course of this particular show, we'll give you some pictures of several of the vehicles that we're talking about throughout the course of the day here. But we also want to thank some of the people that help make this show happen. And one of those is our great friend, Michael Hart, and Ox Foundation Solutions. And this is an important thing because if you have any problems with your home, like you got sticking doors or windows, uneven floors, maybe you're seeing some crack in the walls and the bricks and the basement walls or the sheetrock inside or outside, does it mean necessarily that you do have a foundation problem? No, but it could be an indication that you might, and you want to make sure that you get it checked out. So don't take chances. Call our friend Michael Hart at Ox Foundation Solutions. Set up the appointment. Call him at 205-362-6419 or do it by email, mike@oxfoundations.com. He'll come out, give you a no-cost, no-obligation written foundation assessment. Let you know if there's something wrong with the house. We all know Michael Hart well enough to tell you if he doesn't find a problem, he's not going to make something up and give you a piece of paper and says, here, fix this thing that ain't broken. No, he's not going to do that to you. If it's on paper as, hey, you need to fix this, take it to the bank. You need to fix that. Otherwise, he'll tell you, you ain't got a problem. And that's it. He'll wave, have a great day, have a great life, hope your house spends many, many years without having any foundation problems. How do you find this out? Again, 205-362-6419 or mike@oxfoundations.com. If you've got a problem, remember the promo code WEST. You get 15% off any repair that you might need. Tell them you heard about it right here on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Thank you very much for joining us here on this Saturday morning, mid-February already. If you're in Alabama, where we're based, it's about to get real cold for about 36 to 48 hours, and then we'll warm right back up again into a situation where we're like, really? This is February?
Welcome to winter in Alabama.
Yeah, boy. If you don't like it, wait a couple of days. It'll get different and hopefully better. Meanwhile, around the country in the world of the Cup Series, Trackhouse Racing has announced they're continuing on into 2022 with a partner by the name of CommScope. Again, now that we're into the meat of the news portion of our show, if you're watching on our YouTube feed, you can see some of these paint schemes, including this particular one. CommScope is a global leader in network connectivity solutions. CommScope appeared first on Daniel Suarez's number 99 for a couple of races last year. They come back in 2022, upping it from just a couple of races to 11 overall, starting in Las Vegas. They have been a longtime sponsor of Suarez. This is their 8th year working with him. This is their 2nd year working, obviously, with Trackhouse Racing, which just began last year anyway. Another team that began just last year is Live Fast Motorsports. They're co-owned by former driver Matt Tifft and his current team driver, BJ McLeod, who owns his own team in the Xfinity Series, but we're not talking about them yet. We will later. Foreshadowing. They've announced they've got a new CEO. The new CEO of Live Fast Motorsports,
Shocker.
BJ's wife, Jessica McLeod, keeping it all in the family. She's going to work, obviously, directly with her husband and Tifft. The move prompted BJ to say this, quote, Jessica's commitment to this team is surreal. She carries tons of behind-the-scenes responsibilities and is a great leader to every employee and crew member on this team. She's been part of NASCAR really since back when she and BJ McLeod started dating all the way back in 2003. She's listed as a co-owner of that Xfinity Series operation we referred to a moment ago, BJ McLeod Motorsports, which fields 3 of their own cars. As far as Jessica, she moves up from GM of Live Fast, which she was last year, into that CEO role. Yeah, again,
Shocker.
not really much of a surprise there, but noteworthy.
Nope.
And unfortunately, so is this, because we got some sad news. The son of the first black man to win a NASCAR race has passed away himself. Wendell Scott, who is now a Hall of Famer, won his one and only race in 1963 in Jacksonville, and on his pit crew that night and for pretty much all of his NASCAR races was his son, Wendell Scott Jr. Wendell himself was posthumously inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in the class of 2015. He passed away in 1990. I forgot the year. Shoot. Might have been 1999. Anyway, Scott Jr. was on hand to celebrate the celebration of his induction. He himself, Wendell Scott Jr., tried his hand at NASCAR racing. He's credited with 3 starts in the Grand National East Series, 1973, running on number 34, the number that his father had made famous, garnering his best finish at Hickory Speedway in 1973, 13th place overall. NASCAR released a statement that read, in part, quote, when his time as a competitor concluded, Wendell dedicated his life to preserving and growing his father's rich legacy. NASCAR is saddened to learn of his passing and extends its deepest condolences to the entire Scott family during this difficult time, as we do as well. It's not easy to lose a family member. There's no doubt about it.
Nope, not at all.
That brings us to the Xfinity Series. A little while ago, last segment, we talked about the 3 drivers who are competing for Cup Series rookie honors. Xfinity Series for 2022 also has 3 drivers competing for Rookie of the Year. Those 3 drivers are actually 2 of them are teammates. Sheldon Creed and Austin Hill, who are both driving for Richard Childress Racing. And then there's Jesse Iwuji, who comes in for his home team. Speaking of which, we got a picture of this as well. That U.S. Navy veteran, Jesse Iwuji, has paired up, we talked about this last year on the show, with Pro Football Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith to create Jesse Iwuji Motorsports. But they had spent 2021 concentrating on building their infrastructure. Jesse Iwuji actually was almost not at any race. He ran exactly 1 race last year for BJ McLeod Motorsports. The rest of the time, he and Emmitt Smith were concentrating on building up the infrastructure of the team, the shop, getting the cars prepared, getting sponsors and things like that. For 2022, they pull out the aforementioned number 34 and put it on the side of a Chevrolet Camaro. They announced on Monday that they were partnering with Chevrolet and selecting the number 34 as a tribute to the late Wendell Scott. you want to look at the car, again, check out our YouTube page. It's just above the camera work for both myself and Matt Nicholson.
Whoa. I got to throw a flag on the play on this one.
All right, by all means.
I'm throwing 2 personal fouls on this play. Green, black base.
Mm-hmm.
Green and blue stripes.
Yes.
White wheels.
Yes.
Why?
That's a Matt thing.
So you can
Why?
see the lug nuts.
Well, considering that's the top series, officially now the top series in the United States that has 5 lug nuts on the wheel
true.
still.
Yeah. Hang on.
All right.
Hang on.
I got a statement.
Put a stick in it. Put a pin in it. Put a pin in it. The plan for them is to be a full-time operation. It's something Iwuji has not done. He's run several races over a number of years, but he's always been a part-time driver. Sponsorship coming from several companies, including the one that you see on the car listed on, or as shown on our page. That's Equity Prime Mortgage. You and I have talked about this. I don't know as I have ever really gotten a complete explanation of this, but there are certain things that bug Matt Nicholson. Number 1, white racing shoes. Number 2, white painted rims.
Colored wheels of any kind.
Colored wheels of any kind. Why?
Because the old adage that my mentor, when I was coming up through the ranks in dirt racing, always told me, and he played college sports as well, if you have black cleats or black athletic shoes, let's call it that, because we're going to include basketball in this, since now basketball is relevant in the state of Alabama in a massive way.
It's true.
Black shoes, black cleats, or in racing, even black wheels. Anything outside of that makes your car look slow. It makes everything look faster, and black wheels on a car outside of colored wheels gives the car a better, sleeker look. Just my opinion.
Okay.
White wheels or colored wheels, and I cannot. This is the one thing so far that I will say that is fantastic on the part of NASCAR with this Gen 7 new next gen car. The wheels are all aluminum coming from the factory, and they're not painted.
Yeah. Team Penske was well known for this. The 2-car always seemed to have white wheels, and especially when they had, it's Joey Logano.
Logano had the red wheels.
He had red and he had yellow, and Blaney had yellow.
Blaney had the neon yellow to match the Menards.
Yeah. And who was it? Was it the old Michael Waltrip Racing that used to run the gold?
They had the chrome.
They were chrome. Who was it that was gold? There was somebody that was gold.
Doggone it. I can't remember who it was.
I can't remember either.
Saved my life. I can't remember who it was.
But yeah, I remember gold rims. And, gold rims can look, depending on the paint scheme overall, gold rims can look good on a car. They don't necessarily look good on a race car.
No.
I'll give you the gold. I was never as bothered as you were, because I understood that they were matching the wheels to the overall car paint scheme over at Team Penske. But at the same time, I'm kind of thinking to myself, why would you worry about painting it when you've got so many other things that you got to concern yourself with?
True. Very, very true. Actually, concerned with making the car actually go fast. We'll say that.
Which really hasn't been a problem for Team Penske, but still.
Even with the stinking number slid forward on this car, that 22 car looks so much better without red wheels.
Okay, so now that we've talked about the wheels, why the shoes? What's the problem with the shoes?
Same thing. Same thing. If you got white driving shoes on, or white cleats, or white shoes, period, it makes you look slow.
Never really thought about it that way.
It makes you look slow.
All right, then. Lessons from the driving aspect of the Championship Racing Network. You heard it here. Take it to heart.
Just my opinion.
Or not. On Tuesday of this week, Joe Gibbs Racing put up a post on social media. It showed a kind of a silhouette of a driver. They said that Wednesday they would announce the welcome of a new driver for 2022. On Wednesday evening on NASCAR Race Hub on Fox Sports 1, that driver was officially revealed as 2011 Daytona 500 winner Trevor Bayne. Bayne's now 30 years old, and he has signed a 7-race deal with Joe Gibbs Racing. He'll be sponsored by a company called Devotion Nutrition. He will drive those 7 races in the number 18 Toyota Supra for Joe Gibbs Racing. As for Trevor Bayne, he won his first ever attempt in the Daytona 500 in only his second Cup Series start in his career back in 2011 for Wood Brothers Racing in that famed number 21. But unfortunately, he set a pretty high bar with that win in only race number 2, and he was not able to keep up to those high expectations, eventually losing the ride. He got a quick lifeline at the number 6 for Roush Fenway Racing, but that lifeline was cut very quickly. He was out of Cup racing after the 2016 season. He would run some select Xfinity and Truck Series races since then, but now he probably, in fact, I would say he definitely has the best car that he has ever had at the upper levels of NASCAR. Joe Gibbs Racing, the number 18, Jason Ratcliffe is going to be his crew chief. His races will be spread throughout the season. He'll start with the race in Phoenix, and you'll notice that there's kind of a comfort zone in these tracks if you think about their layout. From Phoenix, he'll race at Charlotte, then Nashville, then New Hampshire, then Las Vegas, and then wrap up at Homestead, Miami. All of these tracks between a mile and a mile and a half long.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a comfort zone.
I thought I saw he was racing Auto Club as well. I may have seen it backwards.
Not that I saw. But anyway, congratulations to Trevor Bayne.
Good for him. He's now arguably got the best ride of his career, like you said.
I'm not sure it's arguable.
I could define it as arguably, because out of the simple fact of he had his chances with, he had good outings and had his chances with Wood Brothers and Roush, even though Roush was absolute junk when he was in the car.
Yeah, it was, that lifeline at Roush Fenway Racing, now Roush Fenway Keselowski, not really that much of a lifeline at that time.
But my one question, just me personally, and I can't argue this, you've got one of the better super speedway racers that don't have a full-time ride. Why is he not in the car at your super speedways?
Yeah, why didn't he at least get one? I mean, whether it was Talladega or Daytona in August or the season opener at Daytona, I don't know.
I would have swapped Phoenix and New Hampshire for Talladega and Daytona. I could see Nashville because Nashville's his home state.
Sure.
Got it. Sure, I can see that easy.
Charlotte, you want to do it in your own backyard?
Do it in the backyard, yeah. But out of those races he has, I could see at least 3 potential wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At least.
I could see that. Trevor Bayne's a very talented driver, and I hope he does well. Then there's Mike Harmon Racing, Birmingport, Alabama's own Mike Harmon. Had some pretty decent success over the last couple of years, but he lost his 2 primary drivers from the 2021 campaign, talking about Bailey Curley and Kyle Weatherman. So since they have gone on to other places, that left Mike Harmon Racing with 2 cars and essentially no drivers. Well, that, at least for the season opener at Daytona, has been remedied. In the number 47 Chevrolet Camaro, Mike Harmon Racing has brought in veteran driver Greg Galding. Over at the number 74, they're putting in Truck Series veteran driver Tim Vines. Harmon hasn't commented on what his plans are for the 2-car operation past Daytona. What we know is this: Vines and Galding in the 74 and 47.
Donut Boy's back.
Uh-oh.
Greg Galding. Greg Galding. He had the Krispy Kreme sponsorship.
That's true.
Now I'm hungry, and now I want to have to go drive to Gadsden to go get some donuts, but hey. You know.
I know of a donut place that's closer, but it's not Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, keyword. It's not Krispy Kreme.
Oh, well, there you go. Donut elitist over here.
That's right.
One more note in the Xfinity Series, and then we'll take a break here. His suspension has been lifted. He's got no team to go to. Talking about Eddie Traconis, he was suspended indefinitely by NASCAR after the fall Talladega weekend of last year for reasons that were not fully revealed by NASCAR. NASCAR only stated that Traconis had violated Section 12.8.1.c of the rulebook. Well, we know that means he got into a fight, because that covers him getting into a physical altercation with one or more of this group. a NASCAR official, a media member, or a fan or fans. Or he had a confrontation with another NASCAR member, which included, according to the NASCAR rulebook, quote, significant threat and or abuse and or endangerment of the person or people in question. We've tried to figure out what in the world happened.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking.
Nope.
At the time that he got suspended, he'd been calling the shots for Young's Motorsports and their Xfinity and Camping World Truck Series rides. He'd been calling the race for Chris Wright at Talladega when the incident occurred. After the suspension was announced, Young's Motorsports announced that they had parted ways with Draconis. He does have 2 Truck Series wins to his credit as a crew chief. They both came at ThorSport Racing, one in 2017 and one in 2018. He can come back. The question is, what team will give him that opportunity?
Good question.
And
Really
to
good
that, we
question.
say, Eddie, good luck.
Yeah.
We wish you well. Going to take a break. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to the Camping World Truck Series. Among the things that we're going to talk about, they've got some rookies running in that series. We'll tell you who they are. Kyle Busch and his moonlighting plans. He is going to moonlight in 2022. We'll tell you exactly in what form that'll happen. And I bet you got something to say about that. And, oh, by the way, there is another generation of the Petty family that's ready to go racing in the upper levels of NASCAR. That and so much more in hour number 2 right here on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
we mentioned, the Xfinity Series got 3 drivers competing for Rookie of the Year this year. Cup Series, 3 drivers competing for Rookie of the Year honors this year. Truck Series gives us no less than 5 drivers competing for Rookie of the Year honors. They are GMS Racing's Jack Wood. Nice Motorsports has not just 1 but 2 drivers competing for the Sunoco Rookie of the Year. They are Dean Thompson and possibly one of the coolest names in racing right now, Lawless Allen. There's Corey Heim over at Kyle Busch Motorsports and Blaine Perkins, who will be competing for it over at CR7 Motorsports. Then that brings us to a guy who can't compete for Rookie of the Year in almost any series that he ever runs. That'd be Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch plans for moonlighting, and yes, he is going to moonlight in 2022. Does not include the Xfinity Series because he topped 100 wins last year in that series, officially claiming 102 in his Xfinity Series driving career. Easily the most of any Xfinity Series driver in history. He had claimed a couple of years ago that once he reached that century mark, he would stop moonlighting in that series. He confirmed that he has no plans to race in the Xfinity Series this year. But he has made no such claim as to ending his moonlighting in the Camping World Truck Series, and that's because in the Camping World Truck Series, he would not be moonlighting for Joe Gibbs. He's racing for himself in his own Kyle Busch Motorsports. So since he owns his own team, he will race. Moonlighting rules do allow him to run 5 races this coming season, but they cannot be in the series playoff events. So he detailed which ones he was planning on running. The first will be when the division heads west. He'll first jump into a truck at Las Vegas. It's his home, so why wouldn't he do it? That's March 4th. And then he said he has yet to really figure out which races will follow that through the rest of the season. He said he had actually planned out his first 3 races, but the sponsorship for the 2 races after Vegas just disappeared. So he's decommitted from racing those 2 events. He didn't say which ones they were to see what else might come up. Kyle Busch having sponsorship issues?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Don't feel too sorry for him there, John.
Oh, my heart is just torn to shreds.
You said that you had some other thoughts on this particular situation?
Oh, yeah, the whole 100 win thing. When you say, when I hit 100 win, I'm going to stop moonlighting.
Yeah.
And that's what he said. He didn't say stop moonlighting in the Xfinity Series.
But that's
Correct?
what he meant. It is what he meant.
It irks me.
I understand. I'm not a big fan of him moonlighting overall because we'll just take the Xfinity Series last year. He ran his maximum number of 5 races.
Mm-hmm.
He won all 5.
Yeah.
Think about that for a moment. He swept the 5 races that he ran.
Uh-huh.
This is a man that has run how many years in the top level of NASCAR?
That would be since 2005.
5, yeah.
Beating out a mid-tier arrangement of drivers.
Mm-hmm.
Way to go.
Now, he can be beaten. We've seen this. He didn't win all of his races in the Truck Series competition last year. I'll admit to that.
He did not.
But you and I have said this, and I'm going to say it again. Every time we see his name, in this case this year in Camping World Truck Series competition, I'm going to pencil him in as the winner. Probably to go back and cover it over in ink. Probably.
So now we're going from the mid-tier to the bottom tier.
Yes. With respect to drivers like Matt Crafton and Johnny Sauter, some of them probably of the top levels of NASCAR, the most inexperienced tier.
Yeah. If he doesn't win,
something went vastly
I'll
wrong.
throw a party, but
Don't hold back. One of Kyle Busch's drivers in the KBM Camping World Truck Series team is Chandler Smith. He's announced that he and his wife Kenzie are expecting their first child. They didn't say when, but congratulations out to the couple. Mm-hmm. Take another look at another paint scheme here, which you can on our YouTube page, talking about David Gilliland Racing. They have had a partnership, as has their driver, Tanner Gray, with a company out of North and South Carolina called Black's Tires. They've re-upped that partnership for 2022. They'll sponsor Tanner Gray's number 15 Ford for multiple races this coming season. Exactly which races or how many was not announced. Again, Black's Tires is well known in the Carolinas, North and South Carolina, with more than 60 locations. So we would assume Charlotte, Darlington, maybe Richmond, because that's not too far out of the realm of their area. Could potentially see them in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Trying to think of where else. Bristol, maybe?
Possibly.
After
Bristol?
that, not sure.
We
But
have,
hey.
we have seen a Black's Tire scheme at Talladega before.
That's true. We have. So congratulations to those two. And then there's Johnny Sauter. Johnny Sauter is a guy who surprisingly is trying to piece together a 2022 season. We noted here on the show he is signed with G2G Racing for a slate of races. We talked about that last week. He's going to get a chance, though, to return to his former full-time team, ThorSport Racing, running on a partial schedule. It wasn't thoroughly detailed. What we do know is this. His crew chief will be Matt Crafton's old crew chief, Junior Joyner. Junior Joyner had retired at the end of the 2021 season, but ThorSport Racing convinced him to call whatever the slate of races for Johnny Sauter and come out of retirement to do it.
Here's a big bag of cash. Come on and call the races for us.
I would imagine that's probably not too far off from the truth.
Probably pretty close.
Speaking of ThorSport Racing, they got a kid by the name of Ty Majeski in their number 66 truck this season. Yesterday, they announced they had partnered with a company called Cincinnati Tools based in Harrison, Ohio. ThorSport Racing's based in Ohio, too, in case you didn't know. They're going to be the primary sponsor for the truck for multiple races this year, pairing with ThorSport's sub-brand T-Sport. This year's Majeski's first full-time season in the Truck Series, which comes, it's kind of strange because we've talked about Ty Majeski for a few years now, and to think this is his first full-time shot in the Truck Series, it's odd. Coming into the year, he's got 20 races over the past 3 years, best finish of 7th, which came last year in a part-time role at ThorSport Racing, where he finished that 7th at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Mm-hmm. This one's a pretty cool one, and we got a picture of this one on our YouTube page as well. It's a part-time effort this year, where Richard Petty's team actually goes, to a certain extent, Truck Series Racing. Richard Petty's grandson, great-grandson? Grandson is in a truck, not surprisingly, a Chevy Silverado with the number 43 on the side. Driving that well-known number 43 is going to be Thad Moffitt. Thad has been running the ARCA Menard Series the past couple of years. He'll be full-time there again this year, but with the help from longtime Petty sponsor STP and a collaboration between GMS Racing and Rayom Brothers Racing, they're going to get the truck in this coming Friday evening in Daytona, and then state that they will attempt several more races throughout the season, which races exactly wasn't detailed. But the STP paint scheme for that Silverado, which was shown off at the announcement, and you can see just above us if you're watching on our YouTube feed, mirrors the look of Richard Petty's last ride back in 1992. Atlanta, I believe?
Yes.
His last season before he retired from driving. It's a pretty sharp-looking truck overall, especially if you like that look, and I do.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of the old STP paint scheme.
Very, very clean look, but this will essentially be a de facto GMS truck. Just
Sure.
Rayom just putting their name on it just to say they got it on there. But we know GMS is putting a full-fledged effort into it to give it all it's got.
And let's face it, this is certainly a nod to their partnership with Richard Petty GMS Racing in the Cup Series. But if Thad, who has been solid, if not spectacular, in the ARCA Menard Series, if he can perform well this year in ARCA and show himself to be more than capable, in other words, actually can be competitive, this could be a step up for him in the next year or two.
Very well could be. Very, very well could be, but with how Petty runs their legacy numbers, let's call it that.
Okay.
I'm really surprised they didn't get the 46 just for this one race. Because Lee's 42,
Yeah.
Richard 43,
Sure.
Kyle 44,
Right.
Adam 45,
And,
Thad took 46.
and Thad's been running the 46 in the ARCA Menard Series.
Yep.
Maybe they just decided, you know what? Bringing out the 43 is the way to go.
I guess so.
Because, and hear me out, if Thad were to become good enough, and again, we're projecting here. I don't know.
Yeah.
But let's say that Thad becomes good enough to the point where eventually he moves up to Cup Series competition. I doubt seriously Petty GMS Racing is going to put out a number 46. They're going to continue with the 42 and the 43.
Mm-hmm.
So
they will stay with the 42, 43, yeah.
So this is probably more of a Petty GMS decision than it ever was Thad's.
Probably.
Truth be told.
You're right. Probably.
Another part-time effort is Young's Motorsports. They're going to put a Truck Series veteran by the name of Matt Mills in the team's number 20 Chevrolet Silverado this year for a few races. Sponsorship coming from JF Electric. The effort begins at Las Vegas. It'll return in May at Kansas, then in June at Worldwide Tech Raceway. Skip July, go to August at Watkins Glen. Mills, between 2016 and 2018, had 11 starts, but he hasn't raced in the series since. Interesting pull. Matt Mills.
Extremely interesting pull. No doubt.
Expectations? Pretty low.
Very little.
I gotcha.
More seat time.
Yep. Let's give you one more bit of news here, and it is one more part-time truck team, Spire Motorsports. They're seeking to expand out their operations between their two-car Cup Series operations, so they're entering a Chevy Silverado with the number 7 on the side in select races in the Truck Series this year. And they're going to try to make Daytona, and they're putting Austin Hill, an 8-race winner in the Camping World Truck Series, in the truck as their driver. This truck effort is being led by NASCAR veterans Mike Gretschy and Kevin Bono Mannion. That's a pretty decent trio. With Austin Hill as their driver, who knows how to win and has been more than competitive in his time at Hattori.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Bono Mannion, we know well. Mike Gretschy probably is not a name that you are overly familiar with, but if you know about some of the back scenes of NASCAR, he's a name that's pretty well known as well.
Yep.
Congratulations, Spire. After the Corey LaJoie hire, this might be the best thing that you've ever done.
What he said.
I
Agreed.
mean, I'm sorry. I'm still baffled by the fact that when they came in a few years ago and bought the charter and pulled out the number 77, I thought, hey, cool, another new team. And they said, okay, for the first year, we're going to have a select number of drivers. Okay, you're getting your feet up under you. You're trying to get yourself solidified as a truck, as a full-time team. We get it. And then the next year, they did another round robin of number of drivers, and then they kept doing it. I would
like to see it. I would like to see at their shop if they just got a roulette wheel. They just spin, go, hey, where's it going? Where's it going? Where's it going? Where's it going? Hey, Landon, you're driving this week.
Yeah. I mean, it just kind of confused the daylights out of me. And then they turned around and they said, hey, we're going to hire Corey LaJoie. He's going to be our full-time driver in our second car. And that first car that we had, that number 77, we're still going to do this rotation of drivers. What? So I don't know. In some ways, Spire Motorsports confuses the ever-living daylights out of me, and in other cases, I congratulate them. This move with the truck, with Austin Hill, with Kevin Bono Mannion, and Mike Gretschy, my most sincere applause. That is a knock-it-out-of-the-park home run. I think it's fantastic.
Yep.
Let's take a look at some NHRA news before we take a break here. We start off in the Pro Stock Motorcycle Division, where the Vance and Himes motorcycle team is going to feature 3 former NHRA division champs trying to claim yet another title, but they appear to be dropping down to a 2-bike operation. Huh? How does that work? Well, it seems that Andrew Hines is stepping up into the role of full-time crew chief for both riders, Angel Sampey and Eddie Krawick. The team recently announced that they had signed a deal with Suzuki Motorcycles as well, so they're going to run race-prepped Suzuki Hayabusa. It took me a while to perfect that pronunciation, by the way. Suzuki Hayabusa racing bikes with Vance and Hines-built Suzuki-based 4-valve engines throughout the 2022 season. Andrew Hines not riding is going to be a little weird this year.
Very weird.
But
very.
You want to talk about a guy who knows what the heck he's talking about. Andrew Hines, this for me, this means good things for both Sampey and Krawick.
No doubt.
Congratulations to them. We mentioned on the show previously, last week specifically, Kalitta Motorsports is looking to get out from under the very long shadows cast by both Don Schumacher and John Force Racing in Top Fuel and Funny Car over the past few seasons. We talked about this on last week's show. This week's their assault on trying to win a title advanced with the announcement that they have signed a multi-year extension with their partner DHL. You can see the car. No, I take that back. We'll take a look at a car in a minute. J.R. Todd's Top Fuel car has DHL on there. Sean Langdon's Funny Car entry will have DHL on it. It continues one of the longest running partnerships in the NHRA. It now stands at 15 years and counting. Hopefully that will continue for them. And then over at the Funny Car team of Jim Dunn Racing, this is one that you can see. Their pilot, Jim Campbell, picked up a couple of new sponsors for 2022. California-based DeVille Beverages, they're setting up a nationwide release of their vodka sodas and hard seltzer line. Vodka soda. Okay. And a hard seltzer line, which it seems like everybody's coming out with those nowadays.
Yeah.
Also coming on board is a company called Our Savor It Fine Foods. And no, I didn't make a mistake. That is their name, Savor It, not Favorite. They are set to introduce their first snack, which you can only, for at least now, get at Menard's home improvement stores, which are not in the southeastern part of the country. But this, in case you know somebody who lives near one and you'd like to try it, it's called Choco Wafers. It's a chocolate-covered coconut and hazelnut cookie wafer. Again, Choco Wafers. Both of them are associate sponsors, but they're going to get some pretty prominent placement on the car. And then one more note, and this one you can also see a picture of on our YouTube feed. Stringer Performance signing Summit Racing Equipment as a primary sponsor for the Top Fuel ride of Clay Millican, pairing them up with their other primary sponsor, Parts Plus, for the 2022 season. They've got a big billboard along the side that shows those two in very prominent form. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll shift our attention to some open wheel racing. We'll start with IndyCar, but we got Formula One. We got some Formula E stuff. There's even some W Series news. We don't cover it on a regular basis, but when you look at it and you see what's going on and how much investment they have put into North America for this coming season, it seemed appropriate that we would cover it, and we will before the end of this edition of CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. 2 tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back into the show. If you own a home, I have a phone number and an email that you need to know. The phone number is 205-362-6419. If you're anywhere in the state of Alabama, and it doesn't matter where, all the way up by the Tennessee state line, all the way down with a house on the beach, over by Mississippi or right up against the Georgia state line, wherever you are in the state of Alabama, this number, 205-362-6419, or this email, mike@oxfoundations.com, is something you need to know and you need to have, because if you even have an inkling that your house has a foundation problem, or if you're just wanting the peace of mind to know that you don't, you need to call or email and set up an appointment with Michael to come out. He works with Ox Foundation Solutions. He'll come out, give you a no-cost, no-obligation written foundation assessment. And when it's done, he hands you that paper. If it says nothing is wrong with your house on it, you'll part ways, and that'll be that. Michael Hart doesn't make things up just to try and get your money. He's going to tell you, hey, your house is in great shape. Hope it stays that way for many, many years. But if there is something wrong with the house, it'll be detailed, and you'll have a price estimate on how much it's going to cost to fix it. Now, here's the fun part about that. Number one, it's going to be one of the best prices you're ever going to get. In fact, it may be the lowest price, period. But even if it's not the lowest price, you know that you're going to get the best service because they're going to do the work right, and they're going to do it right the first time. But we can lower that price because you're hearing it being talked about right here on this show. You're listening to the Championship Racing Network. If you tell them you heard about it right here on the Championship Racing Network, the promo code is WEST, W-E-S-T. That estimate that Michael just gave you now gets 15% lower. Got nothing to lose.
Nope.
Number again, 205-362-6419 or mike@oxfoundations.com. Tell Michael we said hi and that you heard about it right here on CRN. Let's talk a little Indycar, shall we, as we get into the open wheel portion of this particular show. Back in 2016, there was a new team that came into the IndyCar scene for that year's Indy 500. It was Marotti Motorsports, M-A-R-O-T-T-I. May not have rung a bell to you. They didn't do that great. But they had bought a sponsor. They pulled a deal with what is now Arrow McLaren Racing SP. Back then it was Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports to enter that race. The next two Indy 500s he paired with Dale Coyne Racing and entered those two Indy 500s before he ended up going on a hiatus. So if you forgot about him, it's kind of understandable. But he recently spoke to Racer.com, told him he has a partnership with a team. He has drivers signed on. A driver has signed on, and he's been meeting with sponsors throughout the past week in Indianapolis. Thing about it is, he didn't name the team, he didn't name the driver, but we can narrow it down a little bit because he did note that it'll be a Chevrolet engine.
Mm-hmm.
Use your own conclusions to figure out which team he might have paired with. How's that?
Mm-hmm.
Could be Arrow McLaren Racing SP. I'm just saying it could be a reconnection between those two.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know that it is, but it could be. Then there's AJ Foyt Racing. We know they're going to be a 3-car full-time operation in 2022. All 3 cars are going to run full-time. Famed number 14 will be driven by a rookie, Kyle Kirkwood, promising rookie too. He's done great things the past couple of years in Indy Lights. The number 4 car is being driven by returning driver Dalton Kellett. Sorry, Dalton, but you've been unimpressive so far. You better step it up or you're going to find yourself out of a ride. Then there's the 3rd car. This will feature the number 11. This is going to be split. We know this. On the road and street courses, Tatiana Calderon, female driver out of Colombia, South America, will be behind the wheel. What about the oval tracks? Well, those 4 races we don't know yet. But according to reports, it appears that the Foyt team is pretty close to a deal with J.R. Hildebrand, who raced for Foyt in the 2021 Indy 500. He was actually their top finisher, bringing home his car in 15th. J.R. Hildebrand would be a nice pickup for AJ Foyt Racing.
For the oval tracks, for sure. Agreed fully.
Question becomes, can he bring anything else to help out Calderon, Kellett, or Kirkwood?
Maybe.
I mean, being a veteran in the series, he's seen a lot more, obviously, than any of those 3 have. You seem uncertain.
Yeah. Because all of them so green.
I know. Even Hildebrand is to a certain extent. I mean, he got a full-time gig that he kind of blew with a big wreck at a Indy 500, and he's just been kind of part-time ever since, really.
Yeah, he has been. But about that trio that's going to be running the road and street courses, based off of what I saw at Mid-Ohio last year,
Yeah.
I will not be the least little bit shocked if it's that number 11 car that's the consistent top car.
She comes in very highly touted. Very highly touted.
Extremely.
So it'll be interesting to watch and see how well she does this year.
Yep.
Then there's a kid by the name of R.C. Anderson. We've been talking about him for the past couple of years. He's got 3 Indy 500 starts under his belt over his career. First one was with Dale Coyne Racing back in 2016, and in 2019, teaming up with Carlin Racing last year for the fledgling Top Gun Racing. The soon-to-be 25 years old wants another chance at it, but he doesn't have a ride. Anderson said of that, quote, "We're just trying our best to be in something for the 500. There's just not a lot of open seats at all right now." He added this, quote, "We've been looking for sponsorship dollars and whether we can even be there at the 500. So as of right now, I won't be there with Top Gun. So Top Gun is not willing to put him in a car without him bringing his own money, in other words." Welcome to the new world of IndyCar racing. We generally don't talk much about car unveilings when it comes to IndyCar, but we're going to do this in this case because Arrow McLaren SP took the wraps off of their 2022 racers in a showcase that also featured McLaren showing off their Formula One, Extreme E, which is an electric off-road racing series. No, we don't cover it, and I'm not that curious about it, truth be told. And their esports looks. They did a mass unveiling this week. Pato O'Ward and Felix Rosenquist will team up once again this year with a car that continues to include the McLaren Papaya Orange, but for one of them, there's much less of it. For Rosenquist, they chose to infuse a lot of light blue on the front and rear wings and the side pods, which you can see just above us here if you're watching our YouTube feed. It'll highlight their major sponsor, Views. There's some black lines along the side of the nose, but that's really kind of the difference there. You got more of a traditional McLaren look for Award, mostly McLaren or Papaya Orange, as we talked about it. But there's black along the sides of the nose, side pods, front and rear wings. The note for the Views sponsorship is a light blue stripe along the nose cone. But if you look at it, and again, you can see it up above us here if you're looking at our YouTube feed. There's the Formula One car on your left. There's the Indy car on your right, if I remember correctly. And there is a very, very distinct correlation and a whole lot of similarity between the two paint schemes.
Quite a bit. The only difference on this is the side air cowls. Rosenquist is almost all blue. Ricciardo's is almost all orange.
Yeah. I did not go so far as to try and take a look at what they will look like in esports because that's several different cars. I mean, you're in iRacing, you know this. And all I can think of, and I'm not a huge orange fan, never really have been, of any particular hue of orange, whether it's burnt orange all the way up to bright neon orange. I'm not that big on it. But I can only imagine the SUV that they're going to use in Extreme E and Papaya Orange. That's a lot of Papaya Orange.
Yeah, I'm loading it up now.
Oh,
look at
my
it.
gosh. Do I really want to look at that?
No, carry on. No.
A little too much orange even for you.
It just, the overall scheme on the actual look of it, esports off-road truck.
Okay, I'm going to take a peek.
That Tanner Faust of all people is driving.
What is that?
Good question.
What are they running?
It's the XE vehicle. The Ganassi ones look the same thing.
Oh, so they got a stock body on that.
It's pretty much a stock body.
Okay. Wow. We mentioned on last week's show that the first ever Indy Pro Challenge, in conjunction with their official video game maker Motorsports Games, would feature 23 IndyCar racers facing off against each other virtually. We predicted here on the show that, in all likelihood, they were going to race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They did and they didn't. They took to the road course. at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The top 3 finishers, they noted after the fact, would get donations to the charity of their choice. The winner would get $10,000, second place would get $8,000, and third place $5,000. And there would be a wild card drawing of the other drivers, and they would get $2,500 toward their favorite charity. When it was all over Wednesday evening, Felix Rosenqvist claimed the win and that top donation amount. He bested Dale Coyne Racing rookie David Malukas, who trailed by over 3 seconds by the end of it. And then part-time team, in other words, they only race Indy 500s now, Dreyer and Reinbold Racing, and their driver Sage Karam was third. Rosenquist's charity was Conquer Paralysis Now. The donations of the other podium finishers was not revealed, but congratulations to them. Expect to see more of this throughout the course of the year. And if they keep up the donations to the charity causes, even better.
Yep, absolutely.
Keep
absolutely.
it up. Professional sports around the world has been controversial, to say the least, over the past few years. Mainly because of actions being taken either before or during national anthems.
Right.
The NFL, kneeling. Thanks, Colin Kaepernick. Basketball players have taken to not putting their hand over their heart, wearing T-shirts with messages on them. And even in Formula One, in pre-race ceremonies before each Formula One race last year and the year before, about midway through, the drivers had taken to the practice of joining together, in several of them, if not all of them, would take a knee to show their unification against racism. But it was during a moment of silence. It was not during a national anthem of any kind. It was just during a moment of silence. Formula One has come out and said that that particular situation is done. We're putting it in the past. It will not be included in pre-race ceremonies anymore. Formula One officials state that they're looking at other, more direct ways to try and combat racism in whatever form it will take. Formula One CEO Stefano Domenicali told Europe's Sky Sports, which is, by the way, where ESPN gets their feed, Sky Sports, quote, "I think it was the time to move on from just a gesture, recognizing something that's really important, into a plan. I think the gesture has been an important gesture because we needed to respect everyone as always, but now's the time to move on and take some other action." One driver was not very happy with it, and it's not Lewis Hamilton. It was Sebastian Vettel.
The one that I would least expect.
Yeah.
Let me say that.
I don't have a problem either way. Again, it's a symbolic gesture. It's a show of unification. I get it. That's great. What are you really doing? What are you doing the other, because that lasts, what, a minute tops? Maybe 30 seconds.
Maybe,
more like it.
maybe.
But I'll give them a minute. You get 1 minute out of 1 hour, out of one 24-hour period, out of a 7-day week. You do the math. I'm not even going to try and tell you how many minutes that 1 minute out of a week would be. What are you doing with the rest of the minutes throughout the course of the week? I kind of agree with Stefano Domenicali. This is a gesture. Now it's time for action. If you really mean it, go do something. Don't just take a knee. Go do something. Stop making words. Stop making overt gestures that a lot of people don't like. Go do something about it. Actions speak louder than words. Am I wrong?
No, but if you can see me on the YouTube feed right here, I'm just...
He's scratching his head.
The one, F1 has been the ultimate head scratcher in this one.
Okay.
Because, and anybody wants to debate me, I'll debate you. As you said, this is just a gesture. But the more that you drag this gesture on, sometimes the worse it can get.
Agreed.
Sometimes the worse it can get. Especially when you have little drama queen Lewis Hamilton. And that's what I'm going to call him as, because a lot of stuff he's drama queen city.
Correction. That's drama queen Sir Lewis.
Sir Lewis Hamilton. Yeah. Let me rephrase that. Thank you. There's been no need for 2 years now everybody going out to the start-finish line of whatever circuit they're at and doing this just to put themselves in the public eye.
Sure.
It's exactly what he said. Don't use the gesture just to put yourself in the eye. You accomplish more doing stuff and taking action behind the scenes.
So go do something.
Pull your suits up, zip them up, cinch your helmet down, get in the car, and where have we heard this phrase before? Do your job.
Huh. Let me think about that. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. On another note, let's get back into the racing world and real racing. Formula One has come to terms with officials in Bahrain on a contract extension that will keep the series racing there for quite some time. And we've heard deals that go all the way up to about, 2028.
Mm-hmm.
When we come back, we have a new benchmark for a length of a contract. Stick around. We'll give you the details right after this on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back.
For over 20.
We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Yes, sir, indeed, we are back. We're talking a little Formula One action here on the Championship Racing Network as we get into our final segment of this week's show. When we left you, we told you that Bahrain and Formula One have come to terms on a contract extension that is longer than the average extension. We've seen 2027, 2028. That's been pretty regular, 2026 even. How about 2036?
Oof.
That's right. The new deal keeps the Grand Prix of Bahrain on the schedule for Formula One through 2036. 2036. And this continues a race that got its start in 2004. For this season, they're actually hosting the first official preseason test. It was kind of a dry run-through at Barcelona last month. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they host the season opening race, taking over the season opening duties from Australia, which moves to late in the season. Congratulations, man. Talk about just, hey, we don't have to worry about this thing for like 14 years. We're good. Way to get it locked down, boys and girls. As for the season overall, the start times for Formula One races have been officially announced, and we're not going to go into full details on that, but we will let you know that, we've got ourselves a pretty interesting slate of races. Did I lose sound?
Yeah, you did.
Try this.
There it is.
Hey, there's a microphone, which now came off of its host. For those of you watching on YouTube,
Yeah, we got it now.
the Keystone Cops of radio. Anyway, all right, so now that we're back. As for the season overall, Formula One has announced their start times for their races. Now, being as most of the races are either in Europe or Asia, I'll let you know right now, the vast majority of them, yes, they'll be shown live on either ESPN or ESPN2, but they're going to be pretty early on Sunday morning. We're talking 8 a.m. Central Time or earlier, most of them earlier, just to let you know. What I'm going to concentrate on are the North American, or more specifically, Western Hemisphere races. First up on the schedule is Miami. Still weird to say that. The Miami Grand Prix, first up, they're going to get underway at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Central Time on May the 8th. Then they go back overseas, come back to North America June 19th. Still not really sure why they decided to go away and then back. I might have done them back to back just to kind of save a little bit on travel costs. But again, I'm not the person in charge of the globe. Canada, June 19th. That race starts 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time. If we know anything about the deal between Formula One and ABC/ESPN, Miami's going to probably be on ABC. Canada pretty likely will be on ABC. They go back overseas. They come back to North America in late October. The first of those events will be the United States Grand Prix kicking off at Circuit of the Americas. This will definitely be on ABC, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central start time. Mexico the next week, also likely on ABC, but unconfirmed at this time. A race that starts at about the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central time. And then you got one more Western Hemisphere race, and this one's in South America, Brazil, Sao Paulo to be specific. This one has, if you look on a map, this one kicks pretty far out into the Atlantic Ocean to the point where they're 2 hours ahead of Eastern time. This is why Brazil, to be specific, gets their race underway at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central time. I can't guarantee this one will be on ABC. It wasn't on ABC last year.
I think it was ESPN too.
I think it might have been.
Yeah.
But then again, they may have had other things going on at that particular time. College football. So there you go. Again, all the other races, be they in Europe, be they in Asia or Australia, probably going to be a real early Sunday morning start time, just to let you know.
Probably so.
Let's show you some more pictures here if you're watching our YouTube feed. Let's start off with Red Bull. Red Bull unveiled their 2022 racers and at the same time struck a deal with their company and sponsor Oracle. Get this. That deal reportedly worth $500 million with a B, $billion in total, which places it at or near the top of sponsorship/commercial deals in all of sports. Not really a surprise. It's a deal that makes the official name of the team Oracle Red Bull Racing. Although we here on the show will continue to simply call them Red Bull. No disrespect to you, Oracle. It is a 5-year deal, $100 million per year. It benefits Red Bull, obviously, because it gives them an infusion of cash, not that they were hurting. And it also sets them up with Oracle's cloud computing capability, so they plan to utilize that, which they state will help stretch their budget further. Why? Well, see, Formula One has instituted a salary cap this season of sorts, limiting, and I use that term very loosely, limiting teams to spending a total of $145 million per race car. But it is a drop down for Red Bull and Mercedes and even Ferrari, who over the past few seasons have been pumping in $250 million per car annually. So, as you learn to tighten your belt budget-wise, Red Bull, Oracle's come in to help you.
That is so far, that is arguably the slickest best looking F1 car there is.
Yeah. I mean, we saw the rendition, the computer rendition of the Haas F1, which we talked about last week. Really, other than noting the changes in the front rear, I mean, the overall change in the shape of the car, which they changed it radically. I don't think anything really from the 2021 car is the same for Haas F1 in 2022.
They look now, to me, they look closer to an Indycar than they've ever looked before.
Yeah, I could agree with that. But the paint scheme, if you just looked at the paint scheme from a Haas F1 from 2021 to 2022, really no difference.
No.
The Red Bull doesn't have a whole lot of difference. The biggest difference really probably would be the fact that Oracle sponsorship is a much bigger one. And you can see it right above us on YouTube feed.
Yep.
There's Alpine. We haven't seen a picture of this yet. All we know is the news. When we see it, I'm going to be very interested to see how they do this. Alpine struck a title sponsorship deal as well. Now, they've done this with former Aston Martin partner BWT. This is the initials for a, I believe, Swiss company, and it stands for Best Water Technology. They had been a primary sponsor of Racing Point before they were bought by Lawrence Stroll and turned into Aston Martin. It continued through last year, but it didn't include the color. We'll get back to that. That deal, however, was with really more team principal Otmar Safnauer, and he's left Aston. He did it right after the 2021 season. So BWT decided, you know what? Bye-bye. We're leaving too. So this move officially makes the team the BWT Alpine F1 team. Seems to put more credence to the rumors that Safnauer was going to be landing at Alpine for 2022 as well, but we don't know in what way because it hasn't been announced. Now, Alpine had a paint scheme in 2021 that mirrored the red, white, and blue of the French flag. Remember, they are a sub-brand of the Renault automobile company, a company that is at least partially owned by the French government. But you see, with BWT, the overall paint scheme might not change a whole lot, but somewhere in the red, white, and blue, it seems likely that they're going to have to figure out a way to incorporate the signature pink of BWT on the race cars. Again,
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to manifest itself.
Not with a red, white, and blue France scheme.
Last year, I thought they had one of the sharpest cars out there. They had that really bright, almost metallic blue paint scheme with a little bit of red and the white
yeah.
over it. That was a sharp-looking car.
Yeah, especially with that black tied in as well.
I just don't know where you're going to put any pink on there. And is Alpine willing to switch from that really good-looking blue to the majority pink that we saw back when they were the title sponsor for Racing Point? It stuck out.
Matt's going to love this. Paint the wheels pink.
Oh, my gosh. I was just sitting back and
Quietly push them out in the microwave. You keep my mouth shut.
I kind of wish I'd had some popcorn for that.
Because
that was kinda fun.
if I ever see a race car with pink wheels,
Oh
my
my
head will
gosh.
explode.
Side of the wings? Maybe.
I could see the winglets. I
Yeah.
could see that,
Maybe. We'll have to see.
but not the primary area where the side induction and the air cowl.
Oof.
No.
Please, no. Don't do it. Over at McLaren, they and driver Lando Norris have struck a deal on a contract extension that will keep him with the team through at least 2025. All of 22 years old, Norris has scored 4 podiums in a breakout 2021 season and claimed his first pole position. He actually just barely missed out on winning his first race, the Russian Grand Prix last year. Now, the thing about this is, I mean, it's noteworthy in the fact that he's got a contract extension in the first place, but he actually already had signed a long-term deal to stay with McLaren the week of the 2021 Monaco Grand Prix. So he had already signed an extension last year. And then all of a sudden he went on this breakout rest of the year. So due to that strong year-long performance, McLaren started hearing there was some people knocking at the door and maybe trying to call him or email him and say, hey, listen, if you want to move, we're interested in you. Maybe you could come over here and you could drive for us.
Yeah.
So McLaren said, no, this is a new 4-year deal that actually usurps the one that was signed last year that would have gone through this season at least, although we didn't get the full details of exactly how long that contract extension was. but this one takes the place of the old one anyway. Hopefully you got a raise out of that there, since, Lando, you were getting more interest from other teams. Again,
Maybe
I hope you got a raise.
so.
If you didn't, get a new agent. Then we get to this W Series. And we don't talk a whole lot about the W Series, I'll admit to that. But this is a series that did come to prominence because the FIA, if we didn't explain this very well last week, I'm going to try to explain it a little better this week. The FIA said, you know what? We want to try and get more women into racing. So we're going to create this series that is only for women. Lynn St. James at Talladega, as we talked about a couple of years ago, not a fan. Ripped it apart.
Yeah, and in that press conference, and I say this with great enunciation, she lost it.
She did. And the thing about it is in retrospect, I think she's right.
Yeah.
Because for all of the bluster, and that's exactly what it was, that Formula One and the FIA and all these other people gave to the W Series saying, hey, this is going to be a great racing series. It's going to be a great opportunity for female racers from all around the world to come in and get a chance at top-level open-wheel competition. They made it the equivalent of Formula 3.
Mm-hmm. They did?
Should have made it on the level of Formula 2 at the least. At the very least.
Agreed.
Anyway, for the first couple of seasons of the W Series, the cars have been, for all intents and purposes, owned by the series, but that's starting to change now. A new team owner has come on board. You might have heard of them. Former U.S. Olympic decathlon winner Bruce turned Caitlyn Jenner. Jenner is, back when he was known as Bruce, they call me Bruce, Rick Springfield, a former professional racer, and it now becomes not only the owner, but the team principal of Jenner Racing. The cars the team fields will feature an all-black body with a strip of gold along the top of the engine cover, white lettering and numbering along the sides. Drivers have not yet been selected by any of the teams. Last year, there was all of, I think, one American woman in there. Folks,
Shea Holbrook.
you got, what did we figure out? 2 American races and the race in Mexico?
Yes.
They're going to be
that's right.
joining F1 in Miami. They're going to be joining F1 at Circuit of the Americas, and they're going to close out this third season of the W Series in Mexico City, crowning their champion there. Do yourself a favor, Jenner. Get yourself at least one American racer for your American-based team.
Oh, Brucey. Cal.
I said that wrong.
Not.
And then that'll bring us over to Formula E.
Old Jenner.
Yes,
Let's
moving
just call
on.
it Jenner.
Jenner Racing. This season is the last season for the second generation of Formula E technology, meaning next year we're going to get brand new batteries with new performance parameters coming into the series, officially the 2022-2023 season. Envision Racing, which is formerly Envision Virgin Racing, has announced they have struck a technical partnership with Jaguar TCS Racing, where Jaguar is set to supply the battery packs to Envision in a multi-race or a multi-year deal. For next year, as opposed to having one company supply the powertrains, the parameters of the new regulations are going to be set by Formula E. The race teams can either build their own and or become customers to other teams. Jaguar has chosen to be a supplier. They will supply Envision Virgin Racing, number one, with not only their new high-voltage motor, but an inverter, a transmission, a cooling system, a casing, and their suspension. For all intents and purposes, Jaguar Racing just became a 4-car operation. I kind of like the fact that they're loosening up the restrictions a little bit on this, though. Instead of having one battery pack for all of the teams, they now can kind of choose to build their own or go with a company that is building their own. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
That works for me. I'm all about it. I don't know what we're going to talk about on the After the Show, but I bet you we're going to figure something out. Y'all enjoyed it. I hope you did. If you're listening on our flagship station, 95.1 The Mountain, I think it is Rockin' Racing?
Yep. Racing Rocks.
Racing Rocks, thank you.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to that. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, stick around because not too long from now, we'll get into our After the Show show. On behalf of producer John, on behalf of Matt Nicholson, enjoy the racing. NASCAR getting things underway this week, qualifying for the front row Wednesday, duels on Thursday, Camping World Truck Series on Friday, and oh yeah, that electric series we just talked about, Formula E, getting their start a little bit later on this afternoon down in Mexico City. We'll talk about that next week right here on the show. Hope you join us then. Again, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time each and every Saturday morning right here on the Championship Racing Network. See ya.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network. WDNG.